Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Everyone, welcome onto the program. We hope that you're doing well and you are ready for the show today. So today we have, of course, the one, the only Mr. Ralph Bond. He'll be joining us here. He is our science and technology trends correspondent. And everyone, just so that you know, the time that we're recording this, probably not, maybe not the time that you're listening to this. It is currently April Fool's. So don't worry. We're not going to do anything egregious. I know that there's actually like this push with April Fools because ever since disinformation, misinformation has been kind of added forcefully to our lexicon, April Fools has become kind of like a minefield of having fun, saying things that aren't true, and at the same time spreading what people would say are just lies. So a lot of the spirit and fun of the holiday has kind of been taken out, but I do want to say that we have a couple of stories here, some from Ralph, some from myself, that, while they are true, I think that's the fun part. They sound like, hey, maybe they shouldn't be. So everyone, thank you for tuning into the program. Once again, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, the show notes, which Ralph does a great job putting those together with sources and just everything that you need to know. And then on top of that, you can check out everything that we're doing here with the program. So let's go ahead and get started with Ralph and just bring him on. So everyone, once again, he is our science and tech trends correspondent. And Ralph, welcome back onto the program. How you doing?
Hey, it's great to be back and happy April Fool's Day.
Yeah, it's this is a very perilous day in the age of the internet. So
yes,
but some people do it right. I definitely don't want to say that no one can have a joke. It's just that I think the line between a funny fib and a lie is kind of hard to pull off nowadays. Yeah. So there's all that, but like I said, everything that we are going to be talking about today is the absolute truth, as far as we know. And everyone, let's of course, as I said before, computeramerica.com will have the show notes. They'll be up as of the time that you definitely hear this. And yeah, you can go there, follow along, or just go and find more information. Because Ralph, as you always say, these are kind of your Ralph's best. So yeah, please talk about what you try to do with these stories.
Yeah. So Ben, as you know, I'm an aggregator of science and tech news features I find by monitoring a host of online news outlets. And I look for important and sometimes kind of wild and wacky and out there stories that don't usually capture mainstream press attention. And I'm always on the lookout for news that gives a glimpse into where we're headed in robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, space research, physics, you name it. And what I do with each news item is present the essential points. I kind of condense it down and try to make it more digestible for a wider audience. And I stress to our audience to check out, as you said a moment ago, the show notes you post for the links to the articles. So if you want to, you can dive deeper because we have to gloss over a lot of the details with the time we have to work with today. So again, the show notes are essential for giving you the opportunity to learn a lot more.
Perfect. So I think the best way to go about this is just start off with story number one and take it from there. So let's talk about this is something that I think everyone can kind of commiserate with this. You may not remember it, but at one point you had to learn to walk. And I guess the same is going for robots as well.
Yeah, right. Headline here is MIT's, of course, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, robotic cheetah, which really looks like a little dog, recently taught itself how to walk and run over virtually any terrain it encounters. And this is a great story from gizmodo.com. Once again, we have the links and we have the author cited and so forth to give credit where credit's due. We have links to YouTube videos as well often. So here we go. Ben, last week, you and I talked about the Massachusetts Institute of Technology's new fabric that can hear and emit sounds. And this week, they're at it again. For several years, MIT's four-legged mini cheetah, or dog-like robot, which I can see you're showing on the video, thank you, that's great, has been a hit on TV news and YouTube with videos showing its stunning ability to walk, to run, climb stairs, and even do backflips, which is just wild to see. But one challenge remained: being able in real time, that's the key, to adapt to walking or running over virtually any terrain it encounters. For example, to be able to transition from a patch of loose gravel at one level and transition down to a flat level surface. I mean, this is a huge challenge for the robot. The team, however, decided their robot needed to learn using a trial and error process, and all by itself, to automatically analyze any new terrain it encounters and then modify its behavior and movements accordingly. And I want to stress, all by itself, learn by itself, okay? So using, no surprise, a new artificial intelligence-based advanced simulation training program, the team, and this is really interesting, in just 3 hours' time, enabled the robot to experience 100 days worth of virtual excursions over a diverse variety of terrain. So they did this training virtually, which I think is really interesting. And in the process, through this process, the robot learned on its own how to effectively move no matter what might be underfoot. And here's an added bonus. The new programming also boosted the mini cheetah robot's running speed to a little over 8.7 miles per hour, which is faster than the average human can run. So, wow, this is another great step forward in the robotics at good old MIT.
Yeah, and obviously if you're watching the video portion, especially the part you're talking about going from gravel to flat terrain, you can kind of see where, even just like a little, like that little lip would cause it to trip and fall and completely lose itself. Man, this, Rob, and like robotics that learn, or like, especially, I think most people may be familiar with Boston Dynamic, which has a very similar robot. It's always creepy. Like when these things are fully going and they're running at full speed, or they're doing something, they're very, it's very easy to, I guess, kind of anthropomorphize them, I guess might be the best word. Think of them as sentient, because man, they look so lifelike and it's so cool.
Yeah. And by the way, as most of the listeners know, I'm in the Portland, Oregon area. And just this week, we had a big news story about our National Guard protecting and going around the fences of our international airport. And they're using robotic dogs. They have robotic dogs to help them, or at least they're testing this out. So it's coming, folks. This is not just science fiction. It's starting to become science fact.
Yeah. And it's kind of disappointing that, robotic dogs kind of in science fiction have always been used by the bad guy. But yeah, they make a very good constant patrolling, surveillance, and, kind of just guard dog kind of thing. So this has a lot of application, and it's and I really love the fact that you can see it in action. It's not just an AI program that you can kind of believe. It's one that you can see. So that's very, very cool. Story number one. Story number two. Let's go ahead and transition over to let's face it. Science has gotten very good. Like I guess it just took one exoplanet and be like, hey, this is an exoplanet, we're good. And now we're finding them everywhere we look. And that's awesome, because, hey, we like, Ralph, I don't know about you, but I would love some neighbors in the, cosmic scheme of it all.
Yes, absolutely. So the headline here is: the number of planets known beyond our solar system has just passed the 5,000 count mark. And this comes from sciencenews.com. And again, we have the link in the show notes for you. So with a recent batch of 60 new exoplanets confirmed late last month, NASA's exoplanet census tally now stands at 5,005. But wait a minute, what's an exoplanet? An exoplanet is a planet that orbits a star outside of our solar system. So simply put, just think of our solar system. Well, there's plenty of other solar systems out there as well, with planets orbiting their star. And that's what we're talking about with exoplanet. So these additional worlds, all of these additional planets were found in data from NASA's now defunct K2 mission, the Second Life mission of the prolific Kepler Space Telescope and confirmed with new observations recently. And here's something this just really kind of blew my mind when I read this in the article. In my opinion, I can use the word it's only been 30 years since scientists discovered the first planets orbiting a star other than our own. You would think this would have been many years longer than that, but for 30 years.
Yeah, I would imagine that, people assumed that they were exoplanets because I'm sure you can find, pop culture and science fiction, but actually seeing one, that's pretty hard. These little things are very, very tiny and they don't emit light.
Yeah. So I thought that factoid was kind of interesting, the 30 years since the first one was discovered. And then my personal take on this, really kind of a no-duh statement in some respects, but with so many exoplanets now identified and be sure more to come, many more, it continues to support the likelihood, hey, there's got to be life out there in some form. And to your point, we're not alone.
Yeah, I believe it. It's it's really really insane just how many we've kind of found. And by the way, this image, for everyone out there, just go check out this image. It's right there at the top of the article that you link to at sciencenews.org.
Yes.
Yeah, Rafi, you see that giant dense purple area on the left?
Yeah.
In the image. According to the caption here, that's where they found that's where they pointed the telescope to initially. They really focused on that part of the sky.
Right.
So I imagine it's not that's where they found, 1,000 planets and everywhere else has 2. It's just, that's where they've looked. And I'm sure that there are that many all over this image. It's just, they need to look closer.
Yeah. I know.
There's so many awesome planets, and I know that we will very likely be lucky to see Mars in our lifetime. It's exciting to think about other planets that could be out there and what they could be like.
Absolutely.
So there you go. Story number 2, very, very cool. And I had no idea that we had already found 5,000 of them. That's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah, story number 2. Story number 3. Let's talk about this. And, we're heading back to space. And now, because, let's face it, you can't just fill up the gas tank and, go to the next gas station in space and go on your way. You gotta find new ways. So what do they find with story number 3?
Yeah, this is really fun. I think this is really cool. So a French aerospace company, Gamma, G-A-M-A, is planning to test a new innovative solar sail propelled spacecraft. And I have 3 sources here. The primary one is TechCrunch.com, and then the Planetary Society and LiveScience.com. So I really kind of trolled around to sort of flesh this out a little bit. Really cool image there too. It shows a solar sail. So time out. What is a solar sail? Let's get that established up front. So solar sails are a form of spacecraft propulsion that uses very thin, very large sheets of highly polished reflective material combined together to create a sail. And again, the illustration in the show notes really gives you an idea of what we're talking about. So, of course, instead of wind, naturally, a solar sail is driven by the pressure of sunlight. And here's a little more detail. Solar sails work by capturing the energy from light particles as they bounce off the reflective surface of the sail. Each light particle has momentum, and when it strikes a reflective surface, it imparts that momentum to the reflective sheet, just like, you think of it just like the collision of 2 billiard balls, if you need a visualization in your head of what's going on. And the most exciting thing about solar sails is that they could open up new avenues for space science and exploration, which you were alluding to a moment ago. A solar sail propelled spacecraft could reach distant planets and star systems much more quickly than a rocket propelled spacecraft because of the continual acceleration that solar sailing provides. That I thought was just mind-blowing. And the latest player, to get back to the headline here, the latest player in the solar sail arena is this French startup called Gamma, which plans to develop a low-cost solar sail. So this is a little tease as to why this is important. Gamma recently secured funding from the French Space Agency and a host of other investors, by the way, to conduct a test of its, get ready, 789 square foot solar sail this October. They're going to do that test in space this October. And Gamma solar sail is not the first. This is where I wanted to bring in a little bit of the history, but it's an important step forward. So here's a little history. I thought this was really cool. The first successful deployment of a solar sail was in 2010, not by NASA, not by the Europeans, but by the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. Good for them. And later that same year, NASA launched the NanoSail D. So that was kind of the beginning of the solar sail era. And here's what makes Gamma's solar sail different from those before it. This is why this is an interesting story and why it represents an advance forward. Solar sails usually are deployed using an inflatable boom system that is triggered by a built-in deployment mechanism. So mechanical deployment, right? Here's what these guys did, the French fellas. Instead of using a boom system, Gamma's solar sail will be deployed by gently spinning the satellite or vessel containing it, and the resulting centrifugal force will be used to deploy the huge pedals of the sail. Well, how clever is that? Yeah. And this approach reduces structural weight to enable deployment of much larger and ding, 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 less costly solar sails. So bigger and cheaper deployment of solar sails, which just accelerates the whole field, I think, forward. So cool stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And for anyone out there who's kind of curious about what these sails are made out of, that's kind of what I was Googling here in the background. Mylar, which is, I guess, like a metallicized polyurethane kind of thing.
Very thin. Yeah.
Yeah. For anyone who would like to get their hands on some of this yourself, those pre-inflated birthday balloons that don't use helium, like you're usually on like a plastic stick or whatever. Those are Mylar as well, and obviously they're multi-layer thick, to increase durability. Yeah. But the ones in space are just single sheets, and it's the same material. So very, very cool. Yeah, and I love the idea of just seeing this thing spinning in space and just throwing out these huge, massive sails. So
yes,
very, cool very stuff. Cool. Definitely. So, story number 4, and like I said, we're going to get into the part of the show that because it's April Fool's, I mean, some things that shouldn't be real but actually are. And story number 4, I think, is a great bridge between these. What video did you find, Ralph?
Yes, well, we could try to pass this off as an April Fool's joke, but it's not. It's real. So the headline here is "Wacky Video Shows an Experimental Mini-Land Vehicle Driven by a Goldfish." What? And by the way, if you in the background, if you hear a truck across the street, a big delivery truck, beep, 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 and my dog barking, that's what's going on here on my side of the fence. But I think my microphone is pretty focused. Anyway, so got this story from livescience.com, which is a fun outlet. And many people covered this story as well. And there's a video which you're showing. You just have to see this video to even believe this. But recently, a doctoral student at Ben Gurion University in Israel posted a funny video showing a goldfish in a small aquarium mounted on a 4-wheel motorized vehicle. And in the video, you see the goldfish steering this goofy contraption from one end of a room to another, bobbing and weaving to avoid obstacles along the way. And the video even shows the fish guiding the vehicle down a street. The student, Shakar Givon, that's Givon, wanted to see if the brain networks of a fish that enable it to navigate underwater, well, would it allow it to navigate a land surface challenge? A classic case of taking a fish out of water. In this case, it works. To conduct his experiment, Shakar and his colleagues fabricated what they call, I love this, an inverted submarine. Essentially a plastic aquarium mounted on a small platform with wheels and a motor. And projecting up from the vehicle's platform is a pole with a laser detection unit, or LiDAR, if you will, computer, and a camera. And using this collection of technology, each of the 6 goldfish, so they had 6 goldfish in their trial that they trained individually. So each of the 6 goldfish used in the experiment learned to navigate as the camera, computer, and laser detection unit tracked and responded to their body movements. So here's a little more detail on that. As a fish moved left, right, or forward, the camera above the tank tracked its movements. And based on the camera's signaling, an algorithm processed by a small Raspberry Pi programming computer, I think we're all very familiar with that, moves the fish tank vehicle, enabling the fish to, quote unquote, drive. So again, as I said before, you just have to see the video to believe it, but God's truth, it's true.
Yeah, it's really hilarious to see, and I love it when and by the way, why are we training AI to steer robots when we could just put goldfish in them? That seems to be the answer they found here. But there's that, and I always love when people kind of take their pets and decide that they're going to use them for in their engineering. There's this video here which is great. I definitely love kind of the camera there, and then there was this one as well. I don't know if you remember this one, Ralph, but Mr. Gox was the crypto trading hamster, and he had a whole setup where he would he had his own kind of house, and he could buy or sell cryptocurrency based on which tube he ran into, and he would actively trade cryptocurrency. And all of it was automated, just by enterprising people. So with that, let's transition, Ralph, into 3 stories that we gathered before the show here.
Yes.
And, and I would love your kind of reaction. Obviously, I've said before, all of these are real, but should they? That's a different question. So before the show, we found the story, and this was published just yesterday, about how someone bought a brand new Audi, which Audi is a very luxury brand car. They make really amazing vehicles. But Ralph, what's your favorite part of smartphones and computers nowadays? Software subscription services. Good answer. Sure. I love it. By the way, that was completely sarcasm. No one loves those things. So Audi decided to do that. Here's a video of someone trying to sync the AC in their car between the front and the back of the car, pressing the sync physical button. There's a physical button on the car dash, and up pops a message on the infotainment system saying, "Sorry, this function has not been purchased." Fun, right?
Give me a break.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are with that, where physical thing, like the AC in a car should not be something that you have to pay extra for. It should just work. So, we go into kind of how Audi tried to justify it, but we could also just leave that one there. So that was our first story. Second story that we gathered as well is one that you saw, and everyone. People like headphones, they're great for on the go, really immerse you. But because you're on the go, you're in danger. You're in danger of, whatever the virus was that killed all the Martians, during the invasion from Mars. Well, you may now be safe thanks to Dyson. Dyson has created a pair of headphones, and they're very, almost like if you deconstructed a Dyson vacuum cleaner and then strapped it to your head. It looks just like that. It's beautiful. But they have a bar that goes across your mouth, much like Bane from Batman. And it's an air purifier as well. Ralph, look at that image. What do you think? The Dyson, and again, this is an actual product. This is not something that is an April Fool's joke, surprisingly.
Well, Ben, I wonder if this would be helpful, God forbid, if we have another surge of the coronavirus crap, COVID. Would this help? Could this be used instead of a mask? I'd sure rather wear something like this. At least I'd look cool, kind of.
Yeah, I guess. And obviously from the animation that you can see on the screen there, it sucks in air from around the ears and then forces it into your mouth and nose through the kind of strap that goes across it. So it may be a little bit safer because constantly having purified air blow across your nose and mouth is a little bit better. But again, it's just surprising that and here's kind of the evolution. It took them 6 years, so they've been working on this since pre-COVID as well. It took them 6 years to get this. I'm sure that go for it.
I was going to say I would certainly hope it's very lightweight and comfortable, because obviously it's not going to be wearable for a long period of time if it's heavy and bulky.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure that the battery life itself is, hopefully decent enough as well.
Yeah.
And obviously this is a response to air pollution in places like China and San Francisco and what have you.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's the impetus. But it's still, as far as an April Fool's joke, if they put this out, Ralph, and did not say anything, I would say April 1st. I got it. You got me, your Dyson. That's a good one.
Yeah.
but it's real. So the last one that we have for today is a story about a Twitter user who was sentenced to 150 hours of community service in the UK for posting an offensive tweet. Ralph, we've always seen those Twitter edgelords that, they want to say something, they want to rile people up and get a response, but I don't think I've ever heard a situation where someone said something that, if it was against the rules or against common decency, Twitter would just delete it, or, if it was against everyone else, they would just, react badly to it. I've never heard anyone get a court-sentenced community service for saying something on Twitter. That's different.
And it begs the question, what did this guy say? Did he suggest people go out and kill people or something? I mean, what the heck would he do or say that would warrant that kind of action from a court of law? Yikes.
Okay. So the thing they said, and again, he deleted the tweet after 20 minutes, so it wasn't even up for that long, but long enough for them to get on his case. They had a gentleman who was, I believe, a World War II veteran, Captain Sir Tim Moore, a British Army officer who raised money during the health pandemic for the National Health Service over there in the UK. I see, yeah. And later he said, the only good Brit is I guess he's not very good with spell checker either. He said the only good Brit soldier is a deed one. So you can imagine what deed was supposed to be. But yeah, so clearly not in good taste. Nothing that anyone would ever condone. Community service wise, I mean, hey, maybe they just needed someone to pick up trash along highways. I don't know, but not again, clearly not a good joke. And but it's also not a joke that he got community service for simply tweeting something again typoing in his tweet. Honestly, maybe the community service is just for anyone who typos nowadays. Maybe they're fighting that. So, Ralph, with that being said, that is going to be kind of it for us here. I want to thank everyone, especially Ralph, for joining us today and talking about all these different fun stories. If you want to find out more, computeramerica.com. We'll have a link in the show notes, or check out Ralph's site, Ralph Bond Wicks, in Google, and it will pop right up. And of course, on our YouTube channel, we have all of Ralph's segments, its own category. If you want to find more, a lot of his stories are so experimental, so futuristic. They hold up well after we record these. So everyone, until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.